Good evening to you. I'm Natalie Bomke in tonight for Don Hasbro.
And I'm Jeff Herndon. Tonight, a man of deep conviction and great courage is being remembered. Francis Cardinal George passed away this morning at the age of 78 after a long battle with cancer. Archbishop Blase Cupich called Cardinal George a man of courage who overcame many obstacles to become a priest. That courage continued throughout his service to the Catholic community, even as he battled the cancer that would eventually overcome him.
Here in Chicago, the Cardinal visited every corner of the Archdiocese, talking with the faithful and bringing kindness to every interaction. He pursued an overfull schedule, always choosing the church over his own comfort and the people over his own needs.
And just moments ago, we received information on the Cardinals' funeral arrangements.
They'll start with 2 days of visitation at Holy Name Cathedral Tuesday and Wednesday. Then all night Wednesday to 8 a.m. Thursday, there will be a vigil. The funeral is Thursday at noon. Cardinal George will be buried in his family's plot at All Saints Cemetery in Des Plaines. We have the full detailed schedule on our website, myfoxchicago.com. Tributes to Cardinal George are pouring in tonight. Mayor Emanuel said George led a remarkable life of faith and service. He lent his counsel to those in distress, his comfort to those in despair, and he inspired us all with his courage in his final days. There was similar praise for the Cardinal from the aldermen, the governor, and other elected officials.
But it is not all praise. SNAP, the Survivors Network of those abused by priests, offered sympathy to Chicago's Catholics, but also offered a critical reminder of the tragedy of sex abuse within the church. They said, quote, "We do not know how many children would not have had their innocence shattered by Father Dan McCormick and other predator priests if George had done the right thing. We hope the lessons learned will be passed to George's successors." Service is taking place tonight at Holy Name and St. Paschal, among others.
St. Paschal is where Cardinal George began his life of service at the church, and Alexa Helms is there tonight as the parish paid tribute to the church's favorite son. Alexa.
Natalie, as you said, Cardinal George was actually ordained into priesthood right here at this very church. So it's a very special place for him. And of course, the parishioners who come here, take a look right here. There is a brick actually in his name. And of course, he'll be remembered all throughout Chicago. But of course, he'll always have his memory here.
The death of Cardinal Francis George, even though unavoidable, come to all of us as shocking news.
A community in mourning after the loss of Cardinal Francis George.
He was a very warm man. He always spoke really well to the students and young people who really respected him. And yeah, we miss him a lot.
Parishioners all around Chicago went to Mass and special prayer vigils in honor of the Cardinal's life.
It was an awesome experience. I didn't ever expect to meet him, and it was great that we were able to. Very kind man. I was lucky to have that opportunity.
Many of those who met him say they knew they were in the presence of a special holy man.
He will be missed by all of us. My only regret was he did not get to enjoy a very long retirement. I wish he could have retired as he wanted to before he became sick.
And even strangers say Cardinal George touched their lives in some way.
He was a staple in Chicago for so long. It's sad to see him go.
Like you can see, many parishioners, of course, all around Chicago and nationwide will be missing Cardinal George, but of course he will always be remembered. Natalie, back to you.
Thank you, Alexa.
Cardinal George guided the church through some of the most controversial issues in modern times, from clerical sexual abuse to contraception. Dane Placco looks at the legacy the Cardinal leaves behind.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
It was a homecoming for Francis Eugene George, who in 1997 became the first Chicagoan ever named to head Chicago's massive archdiocese. George was born in 1937 and grew up with his working-class family on the Northwest Side, a member of the St. Paschal Parish. George contracted polio when he was 13, the effects still evident much later in life. His sister says George expressed interest in becoming a priest at a very early age.
He would have this mass in the bedroom, the fake mass, and he'd light the candles. And then we had a fire, start of a fire, and then my mother said, well, we couldn't light candles anymore.
After being ordained in 1963, George taught philosophy at a succession of Catholic colleges and along the way earned a master's and a PhD. A 12-year assignment at the Vatican in Rome, followed by an appointment as Bishop of Yakima, Washington, then Archbishop of Portland, Oregon, led to George's return to Chicago.
My first priority continues to be try to understand the situation in Chicago. It's a big church.
Cardinal George took over an archdiocese faced with myriad problems, including declining membership and the closure of many Catholic schools. Church liberals criticized him for his hardline views on topics like the ordination of women.
That's not negotiable, and it's not going to change. This isn't some quirk of an aging Polish celibate. This is the Catholic faith.
It's a faith Cardinal George tried to put into practice every day, tirelessly visiting parishes throughout the Archdiocese, reaching out to young people with the annual Theology on Tap gathering, and ministering to prison and jail inmates. Amen. The priest sex abuse scandal continued to rock the Chicago Archdiocese during the Cardinal's tenure, which settled multiple lawsuits for millions of dollars. The Cardinal was criticized for his handling of pedophile priest Daniel McCormick.
I want to take this occasion to apologize again for the sexual abuse of minors by some priests.
In 2006, Cardinal George was treated for an aggressive form of bladder cancer. He also hurt himself during a fall. In 2012, the cancer returned in his liver and kidney, but was brought under control with chemotherapy, only to reappear in March of 2014.
I guess one of the advantages of being seriously ill is that you hear your obituary before you've died.
The Cardinal's cancer advanced and his condition worsened. In September, Pope Francis accepted Cardinal George's resignation and appointed Bishop Blase Cupich of Spokane to succeed him. In January, Cardinal George was honored by the Knights of Columbus and revealed he had stopped taking an experimental drug to block the cancer.
They've run out of tricks in the bag, if you like. The normal treatments now have been exhausted, and that always leads to an attitude that says, well, I'll take the time I have as a gift and recognize that I can't take anything for granted.
And in those final months, Cardinal George continued to teach us how to live while facing death. In one of his last interviews with Fox 32, he expressed curiosity about the end.
I have no idea what it's like to die, so I'm not exactly afraid of it, except to the extent that I'm afraid of anything that's unknown. And I'm curious about what comes next.
While there are some that did not agree with many of Cardinal George's traditional conservative views, he will be remembered for his unrivaled intellect, tenacity, and resolve for the truth of the gospel and his obligation to it.